managing objects and dynamic objects. So all objects within a ADOM are managed by a single database unique to the ADOM. Objects inside the database can include items such as addresses, services, intrusion protection definitions, antivirus signatures, web filterings, profiles, etc. Many objects now include the option to enable dynamic mapping as well. You can create new dynamic maps when this feature is enabled. A table is displayed which lists the dynamic mapping information. You can also choose to add the objects to groups when available and add tags. And when making changes to an object within the object database, changes are reflected immediately within the policy table in the GUI. No copying to the database is required. If partial install is enabled, the edited object can be pushed to all devices that currently use it, which is really good to know. So let's go ahead and go over the policy and objects, right? We went over the policies already. So now we are going to go over the objects. So when you go to Firewall, you go to Object Configurations, and then you go to the Firewall objects over here. And you can see over here that we have addresses, and addresses is basically an object. Services is an object, schedules an object, virtual IP is another object, and yada yada yada, right? You get that. But we're now I'm going to show you how to create a new object, right? A new address object. So if you go over here, let's go ahead and go to create address. So in here we have the category. This is going to be a wildcard, an IPv6, a proxy address, multicast, or IPv6 multicast address. For the wildcard, you can have wildcard. For addresses, it's just a regular address. So let's go ahead and create our first address. So let's take a look at this. So this one for firewall 110.10.10.22.54. So let's go ahead and create one for FW1, right? And we're going to call this FW1 what? FW1 port 5, right? You can identify by port. You can say port 5. And here we can say it is 10.10.22.54. And then you say it is a /24. And here you can add a static route configuration if you want to. Also the interface that you want it to be available on. If you want it to be on any, just leave it like that. In the comments, if you want to leave a comments, you can say this is the firewall 1 IP on ports 5. For the group, if you want to add this FW1 port 5 is going to be part of a group, you can do that. And also I forgot to tell you over the type, if it's going to be a subnet, an IP range, you can have fully qualified domain name, geography, dynamic, device MAC address, wildcard again, or interface subnet. Looking good. So we have a comment. We're not going to add this to a group. If you go to advanced options, there's some more options in here that you can have, like if it's going to be dirty, fabric object, node IP only, object, tag, and a lot of good stuff over here. And then you need to add a node or change nodes. So you can say add in FW1 port 5 IP, and then you press OK. And in here you can see that it was created. And if you go down here, you can see that we have it FW underscore port 5, right over here. And if you decide that you want to edit this object, you can either just right click on over here and just click on edit, right? And you can go ahead and edit whatever you need to edit. You can also change the color if you want to. Let's change this color to light red. Press OK. And the icon, we need to add a change node, of course, like always. And you can see over here that it has changed the color of the icon to red. And for where it's used, if you want to see where it's used, you can just go to where it's used. You can see that it's not being used anywhere right now. It's not being used in any policy. Now, if you want to add it to a policy, Let's go ahead and go to spoke sites. Go ahead and go to spoke 1, and we can just ICMP port 5 destination. We have it as over here. If we want to add that in here, add that address object that we have created, you can go ahead and do that. And here it is. Go ahead and apply it. There we go. OICMP. So you're going to be able to ping to firewall 5. So now if we go back to configurations and to objects and configurations, firewall objects, the address object in here, you can right click on it and you can see where it's used. Now you can see that it's being used in that firewall policy. And if you double click on it, it will take you straight to that policy. Really cool. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to objects and configuration, firewall objects. We go to addresses again. And here, if you want to clone one, you can just select the one that you want, right click on it, and you can clone this. And it's going to open the edit. And over here, it's going to tell you that it's going to be a clone of firewall 1 port 5, right? So you can create clones like this if you like to too. And also, if you want to group a bunch of address objects, you can do that. You can go ahead and go to create an address group, and in here we are going to call this spoken hopes. Let's say hope and spokes. And if you want to add a member over here, we can add firewall 1 port 5. Looking good. And now if you add a change note, press OK. So now firewall 1 port 5 is going to be part of that group. Now if you want to create another object, let's say for this spoke over here, spoke 1 and spoke 2, write 10.10.10.10.23 and 10.10.10.24. A quick way to do this is just by cloning one of the members of that group already, because if you clone it, it is going to be part of that group already. So if you say like let's say spoke 1 port 1, and this one is going to be actually that 3 right here. There we go. Change note, we can just save it over here. Looking good. And actually you can see that I made a mistake over here. You need to add, this one is a subnet, so it needs to be a 3.254/32 actually. You don't add the whole network in here, you just add in one IP. There we go. So we had a one IP over here. This one also needs to be that's 3/24. We need to add a change node, of course. All right, so now if we go into we can clone the other one, the last one over here, which is spoke 1, and we can name it spoke 2 port 1. And of course over here we are going to set is 4/32, and I think I misconfigured again spoke 1, so that's going to be automatically added to the hope spokes group. There we go. Yes, yeah. So this one right here needs to be /32. I left it as a /24 for some reason. That 3/32 because it is a single IP. And voila, look at that. So now if we take a look at the group, if you look for the hub spokes in here, you can see it over here. You can see the details. So it has 1, 2, 3 members in it. If you double click on it, you're going to be able to see the members, and you can add more members in here if you want to as well. Really cool, right? And another thing, let's go ahead and delete this. If you want to take a look at the, let's do spoke 1. If you want to take a look at the revision, you can see what was actually what was modified. So if you see over here that something was what was the action? This one was to create. So this one was when we created it, and then this one was modified. So if you click over here, you can see what's the difference. If you see the difference over here, where is it? Yeah, so you can see the difference over here. that nothing really changed because we just added the same thing, right? Remember that I made that mistake, but how about the last one that we modify? This one should say .3 right here, .3/32, and this one used to be 20.0/24. You can see the difference over here, and if you want to revert back to it, you can do that as well. You can select this one, and you can revert to revision number 2, and that's going to revert that address to that revision. You can see over here that it went back to 20.0, and we want this one to be 20.3 and /20/32. Of course, we need a change note. Looking good, looking good. So let's go ahead and add this object to a policy package, to a policy rule, this guy right here. We are just going to remove this guy, and we're going to add the hub and spokes group, right? Apply, and you can see over here the name, right? Hub and spokes. What happens if we change the name? Well, if we change the name of that group, it's going to automatically update the policy to that name. So if you go over here, we can go ahead and edit this guy, and let's say hub and spokes all, or whatever you want to change it to. It's fine. Press OK. And now we go to policy and packages, and you're going to see that it's going to automatically update the name for it. And also, if you remove groups, it is going to automatically remove the groups, but nothing will happen on the nothing will happen on this device, because you still have to push it down to the device so it can create everything locally. So let's go ahead and publish this. Let's go ahead and send it to the device so it can create all of that stuff. So you can see the package where it is. The location is in the spoke sites folder, and it's going to install the spoke 1 policy, right? And then it's going to see which one is the device that is assigned to this policy package, and it's spoke 1. So let's go ahead and go next, and that is going to go ahead and install it for you. Of course, you got to go ahead and press install.